Welcome, Team Elevate. This is the Frustration to Freedom podcast, helping advisors and insurance producers grow their practice. My name is Mike Bemis, Simplicity Minneapolis Senior Advisor Development Consultant. I got my partner in crime here, Jeremy Karja, Senior Advisor Development Consultant at Simplicity Minneapolis. Jeremy, I'm super excited. I'm always excited, but this is fun stuff. Episode 8, we're talking about how to use a data form, or really why you need a data form and why that's important, and how that helps you add structure to your appointment process.
Yeah, it's so crucial, Mike, that they use something to walk through. I get there's a lot of people on this call who they know what they're doing. They're such a good closer. They could sell that ketchup popsicle to the lady in white gloves, but winging it works for a little bit, works to get you so far. But if you really want to take it to the next level, you got to have a process. You start listening to like one of our mentors, Mike Starenka, and he's using that data form every single appointment, every single time, just like a doctor, just like a pilot. It's just crucial that they use a data form and follow it for sure.
I mean, I think a data form does a couple things for you. First of all, it adds structure to your process, right?
Yeah.
You need a process for yourself. It adds credibility, to you as an advisor, that you have a process, right? If you go to a doctor's office, do you have to fill out a form before you see him?
Absolutely.
I think it also helps you with the conversation of the first appointment. It helps you ask the right questions, right? How can you know how to help them if you have no idea where they're at right now, right?
Yeah. I mean, how many advisors out there, you go through a first meeting and you kick yourself after it's over and say, oh, I forgot to say this. I should have said that. Shoot, I'm going to have to talk about that next time. Yeah, right. And then you have that data form. You don't eliminate it, but you reduce those chances significantly.
100%. And if you have a flow to your appointment process, you can get good at that appointment process. Not that you're a robot, not that you're saying the same thing to every single person, but we just went over the core four things you did in the first appointment, right? And so if you have that data form, that flow, there's triggers along the way to make sure you do those 4 things, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, let's go through it, Mike. I think this would be very helpful.
This would be super helpful. Okay, so I'm going to pull up the data form here. We're going to use our Bob and Sally example that we use all the time here at Simplicity Minneapolis. They're very popular.
They are.
Give it 1 second as I share my screen. All right. Can you see that, Jeremy?
Yep, got it.
Awesome. So we're going to go step by step through the data form and give you guys a little bit of an example of what to look for. What are some of the things that you need to be asking as you go through the data form? I'll kind of take the first part here, Jeremy. So obviously, Bob and Sally, we're looking for the name, maybe looking for where they work. The big thing we're looking for here in the first part is, what is their age? Are they 59 and a half? Mm-hmm. Can we move their 401k, right? The other thing we're looking for is, in this first page here, is how much do they have in their savings? Savers buy annuities. Savers are more conservative, right? And you really want to ask a question. Is that how typically how much you have in your checking and savings? A lot of times at Coach Producers, you want to kind of ask questions in that first appointment to find out what's on the table and what's off the table, right?
Absolutely.
And if they like having $115,000 or $100,000 in savings, we know that's off the table. Jeremy, what if we saw 400,000 here? You might say, do you typically keep 400,000 in your checking? They might say, I just inherited 300,000. My mom passed and we sold the house. Okay, light bulb, 300,000 is on the table. Right? Yep. Anything else in this first page, Jeremy?
No, just making sure. Well, I guess I would just say just making sure where they're working. You can have a mini conversation about that. Where you're working, how long you've been there, what do you like about it, don't like it. Get a little feel for that, because that's going to really come into play in a minute. And then, yeah, like you said, Mike, you're just looking for maybe 400,000 is what they like to keep, and that's what helps them sleep at night, right? Yep. But most of the time, people are comfortable usually around that $100,000 range, plus or minus a little bit. But
exactly.
That's it.
All right, moving on to page 2. Jeremy, what do we got here?
Yes. Okay, so this is where it starts to get fun. This is we separate the men from the boys here. So basically, we have to figure out where these investments are, what these investments are doing, and we got to find out what the goal is with these investments. We got to fire the broker if we need to in this section. So this section is very crucial. So basically, if you're walking through it with a client, again, like Mike said, you're trying to figure out what's on the table, what's off the table. And you're walking through and you're saying, okay, the 401k, what is the goal of that money? How long has it been there? How much money did you lose in 2020? How much did you lose in 2008? No, tell me in dollars how much you lost. Is that a lot of money? How long did it take you to save your first 200,000 that you lost in 2020? Right? You're asking those questions, and really the ultimate goal in this section is, I would say, twofold. One, finding out if there's a broker there and firing them, and two, finding out, do we really need to have a conversation about they don't know what they're doing, basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we want to find out and kind of get them to throw their hands up in the air and admit, I don't know what I'm doing, Mike. I need your help. Help me. So when you're asking those questions of what is the goal of that IRA? What is the strategy? Well, just to grow the money, and then what? And then what? Right? And then on the fire the broker side, you got to figure out how well do you know the broker? We talked about this already in one podcast, so we won't go too deep into it now. But if they rank that broker a 7 or higher, they've been with them for 10, 15 years. If you don't drive a stake through the heart of that broker, you're gonna have to deal with it later on, and you're probably gonna lose the case, right, Mike?
Yeah, exactly. And so, the question I love is, if they love their broker, then why are you here?
Yes,
Right?
yes.
So why are you in my office if you love your broker so much? And the big thing is, we talk about accumulation specialist versus distribution specialist, and having a plan, not just a strategy, right? And I think
Yeah.
you're always cordial. Hey, I'm not here to drive a wedge. Could be a great
Yes.
person,
Yes.
right? But there's a difference between having a plan and just focusing on a strategy, right? And
Dang
like
it.
you said, when they throw up their hands in the air, they need to, a lot of people just, hey, I got this $2 million. I don't know what to do with it. And everybody else is showing a Monte Carlo example and 4%, and hey, you got a shot of making it, right?
85%.
Yep.
I don't know about you, Mike. If somebody said I have an 85% chance of the plane landing safely, I think I'm going to find a different flight.
I think I'm gonna find a different flight. That's right. A couple other things on here too is talking about on the table, off the table. Lots of times the broker doesn't have all the money.
Yeah.
When you're doing your assessment, maybe we don't even touch that. Maybe we can solve their problem without involving the broker. Maybe we do the 401k. And then if you're the safe money guy, you'll get that more money later. That's one thing to think about, right? Let's figure out, hey, I love my Edward Jones guy. I hate my Merrill Lynch guy. And so, okay,
Yes.
boom, that's the money I get to go for to become a client. The other thing is, are they a do-it-yourselfer? Is there some money that they manage? Because if let's just say, I don't know, just make an example here, this $100,000 that they have in Fidelity, maybe that's his hobby. Maybe that's his fun money. I'm not going to touch that right away, right? All you're going to do is say, he wants to play with the money that I enjoy as a hobby. No, that money's probably off the table right now, right?
Yeah. And you bring up a great point, Mike. So it's really understanding what each of these chunks of money are doing, not necessarily the overall picture. We want that too, but we need to know what each piece is doing and the goal of it and who's managing it and how well is that, how good is that relationship.
Yep.
Every little, pocket of money that you find they have some connection to it. You got to figure out that connection, and you got to figure out if there's some pain there as well. And you got to help, solve that. So to your point, Mike, if 100% of the money's with one broker, yeah, you got to fix that problem and you got to address it, pretty aggressively. But if of their 1.3 million, they only have 200 grand with that broker, and you don't need that 200,000 to solve the problem, don't waste your time. Don't lose a sale because
100%.
of one piece of money.
I have a really good example that just came across like last week. I was working with a producer, and the client has like $3.6 million or something like that, or 3.9. I think it was $3.9 million. And she literally came to him saying, I don't like one of her, I don't like this guy that has 600,000, and I want to give it to you. Take the sale.
Yeah.
Right. And,
Yep.
and it didn't solve her entire income problem, but it made it a lot better. Now she's a client, and now I can go after more later. But now I made her a client with an awesome sale. 600,000 is a great sale. Right?
Yeah. I love that, Mike. We'll get into that more later, but basically, if you got the $600,000 sale, take the low hanging fruit. You can show them in our software on the full strategy long term, but
Yep.
tell them, hey, Rome wasn't built in a day. It's just the important thing is we start,
Yes.
right? We just have to start. And Mike, if you could go back up here for one other
Sure.
crucial spot I want to hit.
Yep.
When do they plan to retire?
Yes.
Right? So when do they plan to retire? Important piece here, because you can retire hundreds and thousands of people if you handle this part properly. And if you have a conversation and tell them, hey, how do you like your job? How long you've been working there? How's the drive? If I could retire you tomorrow, would you retire? If I could set you up with a perfect amount of guaranteed income the rest of your life, all the bills are paid, do you retire tomorrow, Mike? And they're going to say yes, no, maybe. And if they say yes, great. You slam your hand on the table, you're retired. I got to run the numbers. I got to do an assessment, but we're going to get you retired. Now, some may back off that though, right, Mike? And they may say,
100%.
whoa. I don't want to, I'm not going to call in tomorrow. I got a few things I got to do.
Yes.
And that's where you hit them with what power phrase, Mike?
Well, what if I could put you in a position that you could walk away when you want to? Not that you have to today, but now you're in control of when you walk away.
So you're telling me that I could retire whenever I want if something comes up?
Yeah. Well, what if there's another big snowstorm and it takes you 2 hours to get to work? What if you get a new boss and it's just not the same anymore? Would you be like to be in a position that now you're in control of when you walk away?
Yeah. Or what if a loved one gets sick, right? You want the option. What I'm hearing you say, Bob, is you want the option to retire and hang it up anytime you want. And who would say no to that, Mike?
Nobody. Nobody says no to that, right? I want to say one more thing and kind of circle back what you said before is some people, if you tell them they're going to retire right now, they're going to get scared and they're going to almost like not come back. So you kind of have to have that conversation of, what if I just put you in a position that you can walk away?
Yeah.
Not saying you have to retire today, but if I can put you in a position now you're in control, that would you like that? Right?
Yeah, kind of pull that back, pull it back a little bit. Say, hey, I got to do the assessment. I'm not saying I think we can get you retired, though. I'm pretty confident. I got to do the assessment, so that way you're kind of pulling it back a little bit on them. But you're showing them the promised land. At the end of the day, first appointment, you want to be the person they look at and say, this person I think can get me to the promised land. They can get me to the retirement.
Yep, exactly. That's awesome stuff. Thank you for bringing that up. All right, real estate. Here's the thing. We're really just looking at it, here, how much is paid off. Again, savers buy annuities. Savers are more, conservative people buy annuities. Is that things paid off? Is there going to be a house sale pretty soon? Are they going to downsize? Is that going to be a part of the plan? Is that going to be a future sale, right? Is there a second property that now the kids are grown and they're in different states? We're going to sell the lake house, right? So all those things need to be discussed. Is there a business or partnership, some type of buyout in the future? I had sometimes where one time a dentist was selling his practice and getting a large chunk of money, but then he wasn't selling the building and he was renting the building to the new dentist, and that was going to be it was going to be a payout over time and all that stuff. So is that going to be part of the process? Long-term care and life insurance.
It's important ones.
This is some good conversations to have. Have they had a long-term care event in their family? Do they have experience with that? I'm telling you, we are selling so much asset-based long-term care right now, Jeremy, because of that. Because people don't want to go through what their parents went through. Yeah. Right. And they don't want to put their kids what they went through. Same thing with life insurance. The best way to leave a legacy is life insurance. But I will say this: long-term care and life insurance should always be your second sale.
Yeah. Got to compartmentalize is what I say.
If you do too many things at one time, it's too many decisions for them, and they will make what, Jeremy? No decision. Yeah.
No decision. We call it a pebble in the pond, right? You're dropping that pebble in the pond and you're watching the ripples. So you're basically figuring out, is long-term care a concern for you? Have you had any loved ones ever have a long-term care event? How did that leave them? Did it take up their entire retirement? All their assets gone? Everything they built up over 40, 50, 60 years gone because of a long-term care event, right? Gave it all back to these hospitals and nursing home facilities. And then on the life insurance side, you're having that conversation on, hey, how important is life insurance? Do you need it? Is that term? When does that term end? A lot of times they either don't know when it ends, they haven't told the spouse when it ends, and do they have a false sense of hope through that term life insurance, right? Yeah, very
The other
important though.
thing to say of why you don't do life insurance and long-term care first is because with the annuity and solving their income problem is their number one fear is running out of money. Let's
Yeah,
solve that first, right? But with the annuity, there's no underwriting.
yeah.
With long-term care and life insurance, there's underwriting. And
And
I've had producers lose sales because they try to do both at once, or they try to do the life insurance and long-term care first, and then somebody comes back derated, somebody comes back declined, and now it's the advisor's fault that they ate potato chips and hamburgers and cookies and sat on the couch their whole life, right?
yep,
I'm kind of joking, get what I'm saying that, but and so now you lose an annuity sale because now they're mad at you because they got
yep,
declined, right?
yep. Yep, me and my advisors have lost millions, Mike, due to that, and it
Me too.
hurts. It hurts every time, because you get excited, right? The
Yeah.
advisors are going through it, you get excited. The clients love you. Oh, they're in love. It's great. You got $1 million annuity sale, a life or long-term care, but then you lose them. So you really have to just tell them, hey, listen, we're going to come back to that. I get that's important. I get you're excited. We're going to come back to that, but the most important thing is the income problem. If we don't
Well,
solve that, nothing else matters.
I'll say this too. A lot of my producers have a lot of success with long-term care because they're solving their income want first.
Mm-hmm.
So if I just an example, if I have 10,000, or let's say I have $15,000 a month of guaranteed income coming in, and it's a couple, right? Honestly, long-term care could cost $10,000, right? But I don't need to solve for that full amount. I just need to solve for first. We solve their income gap. We get their income up here. Now let's solve their LTC gap. So in that case, I'm telling you, we might only need another, five or $10,000 a month of long-term care because they already have enough this much guaranteed income coming in, right? So your guaranteed income is almost a foundation for the long-term care sale.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Same thing goes with AUM, you
Same
know.
thing goes with AUM.
They'll be
Yeah.
happily move that other money to you if you solve their income problem. That's why the foundation is solving the income, finding that pain, pointing it out, and solving that, and that can lead to all these other sales. And that's
Yes.
our that's again why we give Godiva service, right? Because you give
Yep.
that Godiva high level, top tier service, eventually all the money is moving to you anyway, right?
And then when they bring in their personal financial inventory binder and annual review, hey, we haven't looked at the long-term care tab
Yeah.
yet. I mean,
Phase two.
it's almost like there's a process here.
Like, is that the gears kind of all coming together again,
That
Mike?
might be the gears. Uh, one more thing, I'll just say, going back to AUM again, 80% of my top producers have a securities license.
Yeah.
Say this: if you solve their income problem first, I would say for every dollar of annuities that my producers get, they get $1 to $2 worth of AUM. We
Mhm.
love AUM here too,
100%.
right? Especially with our Simplicity Wealth platform. So, all right, moving
100%.
on, Jeremy. We could talk forever.
Yeah, we could.
Talk about income streams. What do we got here on the next page?
Yeah, last page is the most important page, really. And reason is you're getting into the income because I've had many people when they're newer to me, they go through, did the first appointment, everything went great, but you didn't cover the most important stuff on the last page, and that is the income, financial concerns, and how much income they need and how much income they want. So income streams is just simply finding out what guaranteed streams of income. We don't need your dividends. We don't need your hopes you're going to get this money or that money. What is guaranteed right now? We're going to put Social Securities, pensions, employment in the guaranteed or near guaranteed category.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to find out what those incomes are because later in the second appointment we're going to look at the cliffs and the fall offs of their income. So it's important to know how much working income they have because everyone has that cliff. When you get done working,
Yep.
income goes down. Somebody passes away, you need to know how much is that pension survivorship. And then that's where the husband says, I think it's 50%. And the wife nudges him and says, you think, Bob?
Think,
Think?
think, Bob.
I get half of that. That's pretty important information. And then you give Bob a little homework, and he figures out, okay, yeah, it's 50% or zero or whatever it is.
Yeah, and really, here's a spot where you can talk about the gaps and the cliffs, and hey, when you come back, I'm gonna have it in the software for you. But looking at this here, I don't know exactly, but Bob, I think Stanley's going to have a pretty big cliff. We really should look at that when you come back and see how big that is. I'll run the assessment. We're never solving their problem in the first appointment. That's a big thing. I've had a lot of producers lose sales and people don't come back for the second appointment. We said, "Hey, you got $2 million. You're great. Hey, come back. We're going to figure this out for you. But you guys are looking really good." Well, why are they going to come back to see you? Right? You just told them they're great. Right?
Find the pain.
Find the pain. Find the pain. But yeah, this is
no pain,
really
no sale.
Their Social Security information. We really need, what is their pension and what's the survivorship of the pension here. I will say this too. Some people, I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, Jeremy, but I think it's important. We really want to talk about how much they need and how much they want. And some people don't know that want number because, they really haven't thought about it. They really want to talk about where they want to go, who they want to see, how often they want to do that. And really, if I can get you that number for guaranteed for the rest of their life, would you like that? And some people, they'll say, let's just say these guys are making $15,000 a month, but they say, Jeremy, or I only need $5,000 when I retire.
Yeah.
No, you're not. You're not going to reduce your lifestyle that much, right? So sometimes you got to kind of help them mentally walk through it to say, well, yeah, we're making 15 now. I don't know if we'll need that, but I'll just say, well, Bob and Seattle, what if I can get you the same amount of income in retirement? If I can get you that $15,000 a month, they might say, well, I don't need that. So, well, how about 10? If I give you 10, would you be able to go to take your trip every year?
Yeah.
Would you be able to go see the grandkids when you want? Every time you see the grandkids, would you be able to take them to, a Bucks game or a Vikings game, a Twins game or something like that in Minnesota? Would you like to be able to do that? And who cares if they get the big ice cream?
Yeah.
Because that's what they're going to remember.
That goes back to what I was saying earlier, Mike. You got to show them you can get them to the promised land. And that's what this last page really does. Because to your point, I've had so many advisors that talk with clients and they say, hey, I can live off of $3,000 a month, $5,000 a month when they're making $300,000 a year now. And so you have to clarify with them. I'm not telling you or asking you what you could live off of. Because remember, their mindset is their parents grew up in the Great Depression. So it is life or death about having enough money a lot of times. Mm-hmm. So they're taught that their whole life. They think of it their whole life. And so, you might have to tell them, hey, listen, I'm not asking you what you could do. Yeah, of course, I could live in a van down by the river and eat ramen the rest of my life. I'm asking you what you want to do, right? Yep. Do you want to have this much income? If I could get you another $2,000, $4,000 a month, how would you spend it? What would you do with it? Yep. What are your hobbies? Have you ever rode first class? Right? Who would you go with? Where would you go? How long would you go to that vacation? How many grandkids do you have? How would you like to spoil them?
Yep.
Right? Digging out those dreams, those goals. That's the key. Showing them I can get you to that promised land. That's what they're going to think about when they lay their head down on whether or not they're going to come in for that second meeting. Right? That's the key.
There's a big thing we've learned through doing this, and there's a few more things we need to talk about here. But when people are on their deathbed, they're not going to worry about how big their statement was. What was the number, this mystical number on their piece of paper or online that they can see? That's not what they care about. But they're going to be thinking about the people that they spent their time with, that they care about. That's what's going to matter for them. So try to help people do that, right? So.
Buy memories.
Buy memories. I love
things.
that line. I love that line. Buy memories. But dude, that's what we do. That's why this job is so fun. We help thousands of people retire and they don't even know who we are. It's so much fun.
Yeah, it is.
So kids, how many kids you got? Is there college you need to pay for? Is there weddings you need to pay for? We're talking about the grandkids. Where are they at? Where are the soccer games? Where are the baseball games? Where are the football games? You're going
to move closer to them.
Yep. All that stuff, right?
Yep.
What are their primary financial concerns?
Big one. This could be where you find the pain right there, Mike. What keeps you up at night, right? What are you thinking about? And it may not even be financial related, right? Yeah. Typically they'll give financial answers because you're the financial guy, but you gotta dig into that pain. And then you got to dig into those needs and wants. That's why this last page is so crucial.
Yeah, I would say that. And then the last thing here, we talked about it a bunch already, but how much income do you need to pay the bills?
Yeah.
And how much income would you like to live your life if we can make it happen? How much do you want?
Yeah.
What would that mean for you? And now that you know that you want to move closer to their grandkids, we get you that $9,000 a month. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Right?
And one of the phrases some advisors use is, if I could wave a magic wand and get you this amount of income, what would you do with it? How would you spend it? What income would that be? Right? Very important.
All right, guys. We could go forever. There's
Yes.
a ton of stuff on there, but again, if you want to join Team Elevate, if you want to talk with Jeremy or I, there's a calendar link that's going to be in the podcast and the YouTube channel, and you're going to get one of us. You're not just going to get somebody, some person, and then going to get us. You're going to get us directly, and
Yeah.
we'd love to learn about your business. We love to learn about how we can help you grow your practice. And every producer that we work with is different. You need to get in front of more people. You need a process to your appointments. Hey, I need to get better referrals. Hey, I really need to hire the right staff. Whatever that is, we can help you.
Yeah. And Mike, I think it's important for us to let advisors know that you're going to listen to these calls. You're going to get good ideas here and there. But again, stop trying to put those 10, 20, 30 puzzles into one puzzle. Stop trying to take advice from here and there all over the place and trying to build this business, and instead find somebody, even if it's not us, that you can just follow their system A to Z, if they got a true A to Z system, and follow it, drive a truck through it.
Yep.
Because until you do that, you're not going to find the success. You have to have an A to Z system that you can just follow it, drive a truck through it, and run hard with it.
Awesome. All right, guys, click on the calendar link, subscribe, like the YouTube channel, like the podcast. That's just going to help us help more people. So we really appreciate it. And come join Team Elevate.
Absolutely. Let's go.